take it back to Tanith for just a little bit, because I know she's an important author for you and an important person in genre for you. Um, is there something, you've talked about her dyslexia and her writing in longhand and her creative relationship with her husband, John. What other things about her stand out that you're not sure people really recognize or see in maybe the right frame, perhaps?
Well, those of us that love her work, love her work. And I think that people that have not read her yet just don't know when they need to know. And I think that her work can be an inspiration for the next generation of writers and the ones that come after. I feel like there's a timeless quality to her work because she was so prescient in so many ways. And that I'm not sure people recognize. They might say, oh, she was before her time or whatever. But the fact that you can pick up one of her stories that she wrote 20 years ago and you think that it was something fresh and new from last week, that speaks to her power. Because, and I know she spoke about this often, that she had like these inner thoughts or inner visions that would come to her that would compel her to write the things that she wrote. And people might dismiss that and think that that's just, new age or whatever. But I do think that she had some kind of a connection to something beyond. And I don't know if, I don't want people to think of her as some kind of a wacky weirdo or something like that, because she truly had this connection to something greater than all of us, and she was able to channel it. And I also believe that we all have that connection, but not all of us recognize it. This is a person that recognized it, embraced it, and used it to put herself out into the world. And as a writer, I know that you understand this. Whenever you're a writer and you put something out in the world, you're taking a risk. Yeah. Because you're basically opening up yourself and saying, here I am.
Every single time. And some people are going to leave it, not in a critiquing kind of way, but it's not for them. They don't connect with it. They maybe don't even like what you're doing. Like emotionally, it has, they have a response to it that's not great. Because we all, whether I'm channeling like Tanith did or not, everyone has a perspective, and that. You obviously know that when you're putting something on a page, it's like there is no neutral. There is no, middle of the road. If you think you're doing middle of the road, you're saying something about yourself,
right.
Like right there on the page. So yeah, it is a vulnerable space to be. And to be honest though, and maybe Tanith is like this too, I will do things on a page that I might not bring up in a conversation,
I think that's probably true of a lot of writers.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sometimes it's easier.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to worry about someone else responding right away. You can explore it yourself and see what you really feel,
Exactly. I sometimes think that that's true for a lot of writers, that when they are putting their words out on a page, they're actually doing an inner exploration. And that can be scary because you don't know where that's going to take you. And so with Tanith, I knew that a lot of her work was really dark and weird. Yeah. And I don't think she was afraid of that. That's another thing. That's another thing about Tanith, is that she really didn't have any fear. And if she did have fear, I never saw it. Maybe John did, but I never saw fear from her. She was fearless.
I think maybe that is the thing that she teaches, that she teaches other writers, other generations of writers, is the fearlessness is power. It's like, it's power to be authentic. It's power to end up in a place you couldn't imagine existed, you know?
Mhm.
Like that because then that's exhilarating in the end, you know? So so I think people, yeah, I mean, I think that is maybe one of I keep bringing it back to me, and that's not, you know, it's a weird thing to do. It's not a weird thing to do, but it's a weird thing to do in this context. But I never realized how much she gave me. I was just reading her when I was young, you know?
Yes. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't really connect with how much she did for me until you and I started to have this conversation via email about this whole project. And then I started having all these, memories of our conversations, our correspondence, and what she truly brought to me. And sometimes you don't, this is what's really sad, is sometimes you don't think about those things until somebody is gone. And
I wish she
I
was around for this project, actually. I really do.
well, I sometimes feel like she's over my shoulder, but that's a whole nother story. But I do want to say something that I think is very, very important that people need to understand, because we're talking about a woman whose career spanned all these years, and she had ups and downs, and she touched a lot of people. But I think it's really important that we value and recognize the writers that we love while they're still alive. We need to pay attention to them. We need to pay them. I
Yeah.
mean, I know that I don't know if this was a secret or not, but sometimes she struggled with finances, and I don't think that's
No.
different from a lot of writers. Some people just don't understand what a writer's life is like. They think if they sell a book, they're making all this money and da 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 da. And they, read in Publishers Weekly that someone got a six-figure deal. Well, the six-figure deal after you pay out your agent and the taxes and everything else, and you spent 7 years on a book. Well, maybe that equals $500 a year or something. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
don't think that people understand, even a writer that's working full time, they're not rolling in dough. There's very few writers that are making that kind of money. And I just feel like we need to value the creative people that are in the world doing things that touch us. We need to value them. We need to pay them. We need to pay them tribute while they're still alive. I think that's very important.
I obviously I agree with you. And I'm really glad you said it.